Hi there Pisces, thank you for joining me for your monthly forecast for April. Now for much of February the sun was in your sign, encouraging you to instigate, get things off the ground, take the lead. And as this month begins, so Mercury is in your sign still, so it's possible that something you've been working on can start to take shape this month, and you can start to see the tangible benefits of this, particularly financially, if it's something you're doing that's more entrepreneurial or shows greater creativity. That's going to become particularly obvious on the 7th when Mercury moves into Aries, and it's going to go on to also later between the 13th and the 16th forge a brilliant link with Uranus, which could mean that if your ideas are a little bit different and rather more daring, it could actually pay off really well. But by the end of the first week of this month, Venus, the planet of love and attraction, has moved out of a tricky part of your scope where it's been for the previous 28 days, and it's moved into your sign. This can give you a sense of renewal around your love life, but also around your personal image. So don't be surprised if you do try to spoil yourself a little bit and give yourself a little bit more of a glamorous persona. This could come through new clothes, a different kind of look in some kind of way, but it will add to your sense of confidence. However, from the 9th to the 14th, Venus does go alongside Neptune. This means that somebody could show an interest in you, not just across these days, but certainly this month, who really could seem to be the real deal. Or it's possible that you'll have this kind of impact on someone too. When Venus and Neptune go side by side, this is the true love aspect. But equally, it can mean that we experience something that seems to be perfect, but we find out that it isn't. So the earthiness that Mercury is bringing to your situation from the 7th is something you need to hold on to. Now by the middle of this month, on the 15th, there is a lunar eclipse. And this lunar eclipse is really putting an emphasis on you balancing the ins and outgoings in your financial situation. And if there's anything you share, if there is any politics which has been simmering on the back burner, they could come to the fore in the following week or two. But there's something more than this, because on the 15th, there shapes up a very potent astrological pattern known as a grand square. And this one happens to be cardinal. Now, some of the planets involved in this have actually been having an impact on us for some time. In the case of Uranus square Pluto, for the last year and 3/4. In the case of Jupiter opposite Pluto, for much of this year. But what comes into the equation too this week is that Mars goes into opposition with Uranus and also is squaring up with Pluto. Now, Mars and Pluto are the rulers of your sister water sign of Scorpio. They're intense, they're powerful. They're not planets to underestimate. And in the case of Mars, even though it is tracking backwards now, it could make you much more impatient when it comes to financial negotiations. You may even find yourself doing something quite suddenly or experience somebody trying to force a situation on you. With oppositions, and we've got two that are dissecting each other here, it can seem that the energy is coming from outside, or perhaps we're going to instigate that energy ourselves. I think what is coming up for me for you is that you're a very creative being, and Pluto's been pushing you over the last 6 years to evolve your life in a more idealistic way. Now, Jupiter is also in a very joyful part of your horoscope at the moment, so perhaps there have been quite a lot of sociable scenes in the early part of this year. But perhaps some of these scenes don't fit in with the agenda that someone you're close to has. So I do feel some kind of power battle is possible at the heart of this month. We have to be realistic about this. And if you feel that someone is springing surprises on you, not being very considerate, not seeing how something feels from your part in any kind of sharing scenario, then that can be something that puts you on the back foot. But equally, you need to be aware of your motives and your actions too, because a cardinal grand square does lead to a lot of activity, and the Mars-Uranus opposition in particular can cause a lot of tension and sometimes some rash actions that we can sometimes regret. So if you're footloose and fancy 3, 3, you may find yourself mesmerised by someone who has got a dazzling kind of personality, but whether they're the right person for you is something different. But from the 19th of this month, you can start to think it all through from a much more mental level and be a bit more detached about it. That's when the sun moves into Taurus. And Taurus is a good sign for you because it's earth. Earth carries water. So obviously you being a water sign, there is a conduciveness between the two signs elementally. Mercury also moves on the 23rd into Taurus, and then on the 29th we have a very potent solar eclipse in this area. And if you do find yourself feeling a little bit overwhelmed in the earlier parts of this month, you can take heart from the fact that by the end of the month, I think you can be making sense of things a great deal more. But it all does point towards just trying not to get too caught up in the emotion of things, particularly when Venus is alongside Neptune, because however much something seems wonderful or seems very alluring, you need to wait a little while to see what it is for real. So, this is a month that can be very, very exciting, could be amazing as far as your love life is concerned, but it could lead to a disappointment, and therefore you need to protect yourself and be cautious and let things go at their own pace. Don't push it or go too quickly. It's been a real pleasure being with you. Thank you for joining me. Good luck and goodbye for now.